The man who stopped a professional fighter at a wedding never put down the champagne glass in his left hand, and the toast he gave afterward is the part nobody films. That is the version people repeat. I know, because I am the man in it, and it gets the glass wrong. Let me put you in the room. Simone! Grab your things. This circus is over, my girl's coming home. 200 people. A dance floor still warm. My sister in a white dress, 12 feet from the doors. Her husband of 90 minutes holding her hand, and Brannigan Duke filling the doorway in a suit, cut for shoulders that did not belong in a suit. He had a duffel bag in his right fist. He swung it like a man returning library books. I brought your stuff, baby. All of it. Come on. Come on. Petey. One of our groomsmen stepped in front of him. Petey installs garage doors. He weighs 170 pounds, soaking wet. Bran put a flat palm on Petey's chest and moved him. Not a shove. Worse than a shove. He moved him the way you move a chair. Petey's shoe squeaked on the wood. Somebody's fork hit a plate. A phone came up on the left side of the room, then 4 more. My mother said, "Bran, honey," and I heard it, and I filed it. And I did not understand it yet. I was holding a champagne glass. I set it on a passing tray without looking at the tray. Then I took 1 step. Not a run, not a lunge. 1 step at an angle, and I was between him and my sister, and my body was closing the doorway the way a door closes a doorway. Bran stopped. He did not stop because I am big. I am not. He stopped because his brain does math for a living, and the math said his exits were gone. Left wall. Right, a cake table. Forward, a man standing with his feet already turned, weight already back, chin already down. 15 wins, 2 losses. 9 of those wins by a short right hand. He looked at my hips. Fighters always look at the hips. And for half a second, Brannigan Duke's face did something it had never done under a cage light. It hesitated. 40 minutes later, he would learn who mailed him the address of this vineyard. That answer put a crack in my family that no restraining order fixes. But before we continue, subscribe now and tell us in the comments where you are watching from and what time you saw this video. Tonight's story is one you will never forget. My name is Darius Whitlock. I am 36. 3rd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. Still serving. Home on leave with a dress uniform hanging in the back of a rented sedan because my mother said, just in case someone wants photos. My father died when Simone was 19, heart, in a parking lot holding a bag of ice. So when my sister got engaged, there was no argument about who walked her down the aisle. There was only a phone call and 1 sentence from her. You're doing it. D-Dad's seat is yours, I said. I'll make it perfect. I meant it as a promise. Write that word down. Perfect. It is the thing that almost cost me my sister. And the man at the door had nothing to do with it. The morning started at 6:15 with my phone buzzing on a nightstand in a rented farmhouse that smelled like lavender and dust. Simone. 2 doors down. Texting instead of walking. Are you awake? Yes. Come here. Don't wake Mom. I came. She was sitting on the floor of a bedroom in a gray hoodie. Hair in rollers. Veil hanging on a closet door like a flag. Her phone was face down on the carpet in front of her, like something that might bite. "Read it," she said. I picked it up. Unknown number. Sent 441A. I still dream about your laugh. Then 443. You don't have to do this. Say the word and I'm there in 3 hours. Then 452. I know what he is. He's a teacher. Simone. A teacher. Then 5/6. Answer me. Then 5/7. ME. I read all 5. My pulse did not change. I have been told that is unsettling. I have never known how to fix it. It's him, she said. It's him. He doesn't have my number. I changed it twice. Somebody gave it to him. She looked up at me fast. Who? That was the first door I could have opened. I want you to see it, because I am not going to pretend later that I did not see it too. I said, we'll figure it out after. After what? After you get married, she breathed out. Rollers, mascara, wand in her fist. 29 years old, and holding herself together with both hands. D, today, is supposed to be the day I don't think about him. Then don't. I held up her phone. Give me this. I'll carry it. Anything from a person you love, I hand you. Anything from him you never see, she said. You'd do that? It's already done. She gave me the phone, and I want to be honest with you, because I have replayed that moment more than I have replayed the dance floor. It felt good. It felt like an op order. Threat identified, comms controlled, principle protected. I was not a brother in that hallway. I was a team leader with a mission statement. And the mission statement said one word. Perfect. By 8, the phone in my jacket had buzzed 9 more times. Wear the blue dress, not white. You know why. I've been training. I'm 15 and 2. You should see me now. Who's paying for this? His parents? A teacher's parents? I'm not angry. I'm not. I just want 10 minutes. 10 minutes, Simone. I read every one standing in a vineyard parking lot with the sun coming up over rows of vines. And my hand did not tighten on the phone. And that is the only thing about me that morning that was worth anything. Rose the planner found me at 8:30 with a clipboard and a headset. You're the brother. I'm the brother. You're carrying the seating chart like it's an eviction notice. It's a seating chart. She looked at it, every table numbered, every name in block letters. Sightlines drawn from the head table to all 4 exits in pencil. She looked at me. Should I be worried? No. That was very fast. I know. Here is the truth I did not give her. I had already walked the property twice. I knew the vineyard had 3 vehicle approaches and 1 service road. I knew the reception barn had 4 doors, and that 2 of them opened outward, and that 1 of them did not latch. I knew which door did not latch at 8:30 in the morning. Remember that. The groom found me by the caterer's van, holding 2 coffees, wearing socks and no shoes. Emmett Cole, 29, 8th grade English. He has a laugh like a screen door and a spine people underestimate because it never raises its voice. She told you, he said. Told me what? About the texts. He handed me a coffee. She tells me everything, Darius. That's kind of the whole thing with us. I stood there holding a coffee I had not asked for. She said you took her phone. She asked me to. She did. He nodded. Just so you know. I'd rather she saw them and hated him out loud than didn't see them and wondered. Today's not the day for wondering. Today's the day for whatever she wants it to be. He said it gently. He said it like a man who spends 9 hours a day being patient with 13-year-olds. You're allowed to just be her brother, man. You know that, right? I said. Your shoes are in the van. He laughed. He went to get his shoes. I have thought about that conversation on a lot of flights since. At 9:40, a car came up the Vineyard Road and did not stop. Gray sedan, rental plates, tinted rear glass. It came in slow, went past the ceremony lawn, past the barn, out the far gate. 11 minutes later, it came back the other way. I was standing with the photographer while she posed Simone against a row of vines, and I counted the car and I said nothing. Third pass at 10:05. Fourth at 10:22. Somebody circling a property 4 times is not lost. Somebody circling a property 4 times is building a map. I found Roz in the barn. How locked is the guest list? It's a list. It's not a bank. Lock it like a bank. She stared at me. Sir Darius, Darius, is there a person? There's a car. She wrote something on her clipboard. Her knuckles went white on it, and the pen tip snapped, and she got another pen. And that is the moment I understood other people were scared and I was not, and that this was going to be a problem. I pulled Petey and Deke behind the barn. Deke drives a forklift at a paper plant. Petey does garage doors. They were both wearing rented shoes, and both of them said, "Yeah," before I finished the sentence. Petey, the front doors. Deke, the service door on the north wall. The one that doesn't latch. You don't stop anybody. You don't touch anybody. You see a man in a gray rental, you say my name into your phone, and you step back. Deke said, "Step back? Step back. If a guy like this puts hands on you, you're a hospital bill and he's a headline. Your eyes. That's it." Petey said, "Eyes." "Copy," I said. "Good. Hold your sectors." Deke blinked. "My what?" "Your spot. Hold your spot." I walked away fast. 20 years of vocabulary does not turn off because you are wearing a boutonniere. The ceremony started at 4. 98 chairs on a lawn. Wine country behind them, the light going gold on the hills. I stood at the back of the aisle with my sister's hand on my arm and felt her shaking. "Hey," I said. "I'm fine. You're rattling my sleeve." I said I'm fine. Under my thumb, on the inside of her wrist, her pulse was going about 140. She had a scar on that wrist from a bike crash when she was 8. I stitched it with a butterfly bandage and a lie about how it wouldn't sting. "Look at Emmett," I said. She looked. He was at the end of the aisle in a gray suit with his hands folded. And he was crying already, openly, in front of 98 people, and not one of them thought less of him. Her pulse dropped, just like that, 140 to about 90 in 4 seconds. "Okay," she said. "Okay, go." I walked her down, slow steps. My mother in the front row in navy blue, hands pressed to her mouth, tears running. I want you to hold that image of my mother crying. I need you to have it before the hallway. The vows went 11 minutes. Emmett had written his on index cards and then didn't use them. He said, "You rebuilt yourself, and you didn't ask anyone for permission." I just want to be there for the rest of the construction. The whole lawn made a sound. And then, from the parking area, a car door slammed. Not a normal close, a slam with the metallic bang that carries in open country. 98 heads turned at once. My mother's hand came off her mouth. The officiant lost his place. I did not turn around. I watched the tree line to the left of the lawn, because a man who wants a scene makes noise on one side and walks in from the other. 10 seconds. Nothing. 20. Nothing. Ross's voice came into my ear from 6 feet away. Low. Catering. It's catering. The officiant found his place. Simone laughed and shook her head and mouthed, "Sorry" at everybody. And everybody laughed, and the moment released. I let my shoulders come down. I should not have. He was not coming for the vows. Vows have no microphone that matters. He was coming for the toasts, where the mic is live and the room is seated and every phone is already out. Cocktail hour ran an hour, and it ran beautifully. Simone got hugged 40 times. Emmett's father told the same joke to 3 separate tables. Someone's toddler ate a napkin. I stood by a wine barrel and worked my sister's phone, which buzzed against my ribs 11 more times. "You look beautiful. I can see you." That one stopped even me for a second. I'm not going to make a scene. I just want to say one thing in front of everyone, and then I'll go. He can't protect you. I've watched his hands. He's never made a fist in his life. And then, at 5:51, someone in that room wants me here, Simone. Ask yourself who. I read that one 3 times. I put the phone in my jacket. I went and found my mother by the bar. "Mom, isn't it lovely?" She had a glass of white in her hand, and her eyes were shining. "The light out here. Your father would have hated the wine. He would have brought a cooler. He'd have brought a cooler." She laughed. Then she said, "Is Simone all right?" "She looks tense. She's getting married." "She looks tense," my mother said again. She always looked calmer with. She stopped. Right there. She stopped the sentence herself, and she took a sip of wine, and she looked out at the vines. And I let it go. I let it go because it was 5:55, and my sister was laughing across the lawn with her arms around 2 cousins. And the light was perfect, and I had a mission statement with 1 word in it. Perfect. The first dance was at 7:06. They did not do a routine. They swayed. Emmett stepped on her dress twice, and she called him a menace, and the room lost it. Halfway through the song, Simone put her forehead on his shoulder and closed her eyes. And my mother said, "Oh," out loud, and the DJ dropped the volume so the room could hear my sister laugh. At 7:09, the song was not finished, because the front doors opened. "Simone, grab your things. This circus is over, my girl's coming home. Now you get all of it." Bran came in shoulders first. Charcoal suit, no tie, collar open because a tie interferes with a neck like that. Hair wet-combed. He smelled like cologne from an airport shop, and, under it, like a gym, that sweet chemical grape smell of pre-workout that never washes out of a gym bag. He had the duffel in his right hand, and he threw it down onto the parquet. The zipper was open. A pair of running shoes came out, a hoodie, a hairbrush. A framed photo of the two of them on a beach, glass cracked. "Returning what she left," he announced, to everybody, to nobody. 2 years of a woman's life in a bag. That's all you get with these people. The music stopped. 200 faces. Petey moving in from the left. My mother, sitting down slowly at table 4 with her hand on her chest. And the DJ's floor mic, the one under the head table, the one nobody thinks about, picking up every single word. "Bran," Simone said. Flat, not scared. "Get out." 10 minutes. No. 10 minutes, and if you still want to play house with a substitute teacher, I'll drive away and you'll never. "He's not a substitute," she said. Somewhere on the right, a man laughed once, sharply, and cut himself off. Bran's jaw moved. He walked forward. Petey stepped in front of him. Petey said, "Hey, man, this is." And Bran put that flat palm on Petey's chest and moved him aside without breaking stride. And Petey's rented shoe squeaked on the wood. And that squeak is what made the room understand what was actually standing in the doorway. Because it was not a drunk cousin. It was a professional. I was at table 9 with a champagne glass I had not drunk. I set it on a passing tray without looking. And then I did the only thing I did all night that I would do again exactly the same way. I took one step. Not toward him, across, diagonal, into the lane between Bran and my sister, my lead foot landing at an angle that put my shoulders across the doorway line, so that anything coming at her had to come through the widest part of me first. Bran stopped 4 feet away. He looked at my feet, then my hips, then my hands, which were open and low and doing nothing. Then his eyes went past me to the exits, and I watched him find out that I had already taken them. "Who are you?" he said. "I'm the guy standing here. Move." No. 200 people made no sound at all. Someone's chair leg scraped. A phone hit a table. Bran smiled. He has a good smile. That is part of the problem. 15 wins, sweetheart, he said, loud, to the whole room, not to me. You really think a teacher and a seating chart stop me? I looked at the paper in my left hand. I had been holding it all night. The seating chart has you outside, I said. I'm just the usher. The room broke. Half a laugh, cut short. 20 people who wanted to laugh and were too scared to finish. Bran's face went red from the collar up. He is a man who has been loved by crowds. He heard that room turn. You know what she was before me? He said, chin up. Playing to the tables. Nothing. Waitress. Bad credit. I bought that car she's still driving. I paid for that hair. Bran, my mother said. I paid for that hair, Marilyn. And there it was, Marilyn. He used my mother's first name across a wedding reception like a man who had used it before. I felt something cold slide sideways in my chest. Simone heard it too. I know because she stopped looking at Bran and started looking at our mother. Out, I said. Or what? Or you get carried and it's on 200 phones, and your promotion sees it before you're in your car. He leaned in 6 inches. You don't know who I am. I don't need to, I said. You're standing in a doorway with a bag of laundry. Something behind his eyes flickered. He weighed it. I watched him weigh it. 200 witnesses, a live floor mic, a suspension clause he could recite in his sleep, and one guy in front of him who had not blinked and whose hands were still open. He picked up the duffel. 10 minutes, he said to Simone. I'll be in the lot. 10 minutes and I'm gone forever. He walked out. Petey shut the doors and put his back against them and slid down 4 inches like his legs had quit. The DJ, to his eternal credit, brought the music back up. People clapped badly at nothing, and my sister crossed the floor, took my elbow, and said one sentence in my ear that had nothing to do with the man who had just left. How did he know the barn? I did not have an answer, she said. D. There are 3 vineyards on this road. How did he know which barn? Ross came at us with a headset and a face. Service hallway. Now, both of you, please. We went. The service hallway behind the barn is concrete and cold and smells like sheet cake and dish soap. Cake boxes stacked to the ceiling on the left. A rolling rack of dessert plates. One bare bulb. My mother was standing under it with her purse in both hands. She had been crying. She was still beautiful in navy blue. She looked exactly like the woman who taught me to tie a tie. Mom, Simone said. It's not what you're. Mom. And my mother, 61 years old, mother of the bride, said the sentence that broke the night open. I only sent him the address. I heard the walk-in cooler hum. I heard a spoon drop somewhere in the kitchen. I heard my own pulse for the first time all day, and it was still slow, and I hated it. You sent him the address, Simone said. And the time, Simone? And my phone number. My mother's chin came up. That is the part I cannot forget. Her chin came up. He has a future, she said. He has houses. 2. He has a sponsorship with a supplement company and one with a truck dealership. He has money, Simone. He has security. He put his fist through a door with my head next to it. He was young. He was 29. Emmett is a school teacher. My mother's voice cracked on the word, not shouted, cracked. He makes $51,000 a year. I looked it up. 51,000. And you're going to have children, and what happens when? When what? Simone said. When I have to work. Mom, I like working. Your father worked himself into a parking lot that landed on all 3 of us at once. My mother put her hand over her mouth. Too late, Simone said, very quietly. So this is about Dad. This is about you being safe. You gave a violent man my location so I'd be safe. He isn't violent. He's intense. He is 15 and 2, I said. And he is intense for money. My mother turned on me then, and she said the thing that put me on the floor. Don't you stand there, she said. Don't you dare stand there like the reasonable one. You've been reading her texts all day. The hallway went silent. Simone turned her head slowly. What? I said. She asked me to. I asked you to hold my phone, Simone said, this morning, before I knew somebody in my family was the leak. And you've had it since, what, 6? 6:15. And how many? Simone? How many messages, Darius? 26. The number just sat there in the concrete. 26, she said. And in 26 messages, did he ever say anything about somebody in this family helping him? I did not answer fast enough. He did, she said. He did. And you read it, and you decided. I decided you'd have one day. You decided, she said. That's the whole sentence, Dee. You decided. She stepped in close, not angry loud, worse, steady. I spent 2 years with a man who told me what I could see, who I could text, what I was allowed to be upset about. 2 years, and I got out. Brick, by myself, on my own money. In a studio apartment with a mattress on the floor, and no help from anybody in this hallway. She tapped my chest once with 2 fingers. You don't get to run my day like a mission, Dee, not you too. I have been in rooms where men shot at me. That sentence did more damage. I did not defend myself. There was nothing to defend. I reached into my jacket and took out her phone. Passcode's still your birthday, I said. It's all there. Every message. Nothing deleted, all time-stamped. Screenshots already in an album called Morning. She took it. Why the album? Because he's building a stalking case against himself, I said. And I wanted it in order for whoever needs it. She almost smiled. It did not get there. That, she said, is the most romantic thing you've ever done and the worst at the same time. Yeah, don't do it again. I won't. Say the whole thing. I said, I will never manage you again. She nodded once and looked past me at our mother, who was standing under a bare bulb between cake boxes with her purse held in front of her like it could stop anything. Mom, Simone said, go sit down. Simone, table 11. Sit down. We'll talk on Sunday, and every Sunday after that. For a long time. My mother's mouth opened and nothing came out. Simone walked past her, opened her phone, and pulled up the DJ's run sheet in a group chat. I watched her scroll to the toast order. I watched her cross out Mother of the Bride with 2 fingers and send it. Then she went back out to her wedding. Out in the lot, something else was happening that I only learned about later from the internet like everybody else. Bran had a cornerman with him. Ozzie Fenn, 38. A career second who has wrapped hands in 11 states. Bran had told him it was a conversation. Ozzie was sitting in the passenger seat of a gray rental. At 7:20, phone propped on the dash, live to 400 people who follow him for hand wrap tutorials. So my guy just walked into a wedding, Ozzie said to the camera. A wedding with a bag. He turned the phone toward the windshield. You can see the barn. You can see string lights. I told him. I said, Bran. Brother. I don't work weddings, man. This is a felony with cake. 400 people watching. Then 1,100. Then 4,000. Because the internet knows what it likes. I'm sitting in this car, Ozzie said. And I'm not touching that door handle. And if anybody from the commission is watching, note the timestamp. I am in the vehicle. And at 7:26, on that same live stream, you can hear a bang. That is Brannigan Duke kicking a metal parking sign at the edge of the gravel lot, twice, until it leans. You can also, if you know where to look, see the small dark bulb on the eave of the equipment shed pointed directly at that sign. Harrow Creek Vineyard runs 16 cameras. Ross told me that at 8 o'clock, with the flat satisfaction of a woman who has planned 400 weddings. They'll bill him, she said. Sign, post, concrete footing $1,200, and we send the footage with the invoice. To him? To his promotion, she said. It's on his gym's registration. Ironline sent a van last year for a promo shoot. We keep records. I said, Roz, if you ever leave this business, call me. I would never leave this business, she said, and clicked her pen. Inside, the reception restarted the way a person restarts after a near miss on the highway. Loud. Fast. Everyone talking about it at once. Emmett was on his knees on the parquet, putting a hoodie and a hairbrush back into a duffel bag nobody had picked up. He zipped it. He set it by the wall. He stood up and straightened his jacket and put his hand out to Petey, who was still by the doors, breathing wrong. Petey. Hey. Look at me. He moved me like I wasn't there, man. Yeah, he did, Emmett said. And you stood in front of him first. There's a difference. Petey wiped his face with his sleeve. Simone came to me at the bar. 2 things, she said. Okay. 1. The toasts happen, all of them. On schedule. I'm not letting him move my wedding by 4 minutes. Copy. Say okay. Not. Copy. Okay. 2. She looked at the doors. He's not gone. No. He said 10 minutes. It's been 18. He's not waiting for you, I said. He's waiting for the mic. She looked at me sharply. Why? Because he doesn't want you back, I said. He wants the room. He wants 200 people to watch you choose him. If you'd walked out to that lot, he'd have made you come back inside to do it. Simone stood very still. That's exactly right, she said. That's God. That's exactly right. That's every fight we ever had. He never wanted to win in the car. He wanted to win in front of people. Then he'll come for the toasts. Then we do the toasts. She said, Andy? Yeah, you don't touch him first. Not once. Not for me, not for Dad, not for anything. I know. Say it. He throws first, or nothing happens. Good. She picked up her dress in one fist. Now go stand where you're going to stand. I went and stood where I was going to stand. Here is what I could tell you about my training, and here is what I will actually tell you. I could tell you about selection, about the regiment, about what a ranger does on the worst night of somebody's year. I am not going to, because it does not matter to this story, and because the men I served with do not need a wedding anecdote attached to their work. What matters is one's small, boring thing. We are taught that violence is a last resort with a very specific job, and that the job is finished the second it is finished, not 1 second later. Everything Brannigan Duke had ever been taught said the opposite. A cage has a clock. A cage pays you for the seconds after a man is already beaten. That is the whole story of what happened on that dance floor, and everybody who watched it thought it was about who was tougher. Toasts started at 8:14. Emmett's best friend went first, and he was terrible, and it was wonderful. He told a story about Emmett crying at a nature documentary about eels. Simone's college roommate went second. She said, I met Simone when she was 22, and I met her again at 28, and honestly the second one is my favorite person alive. Simone put her hand over her eyes. The DJ said, and now, the brother of the bride, and the north service door, the one that does not latch, opened. Deke was standing beside it. He did exactly what I told him. He said my name into his phone, and he stepped back. Bran came through it with a cordless mic in his hand. He had taken it off the DJ's spare stand by the cake table on his way past, and he had it on. And the speakers caught his breath before they caught his voice. Am I on? Yeah, I'm on. 200 people turned in their chairs at once, chair legs on wood like a wave. Simone. The feedback shrieked and he shouted over it. Grab your things. This circus is over. My girl's coming home. Same words, twice the volume. Through a PA system. Phones went up everywhere, not 4, everywhere. 100 lights in a dark barn. Bran walked to the middle of the dance floor, into the open space where they'd had their first dance, and he threw the duffel down again, and it hit the parquet with a sound like a body. 2 years, he said into the mic. I gave this woman 2 years, a car, a condo. Simone stood up. And she leaves me for a guy who, Bran, who teaches sampling. Brannigan. He stopped because she had said his whole name. Simone walked out onto that floor in her wedding dress, alone, and I stayed exactly where I was, because she had told me to, and because she was not asking for help. You need to leave, she said. 10 minutes. You've had 18 months. I've changed. You kicked a sign in the parking lot 11 minutes ago. His mouth opened. There are 16 cameras, she said. 16. You didn't even look up. And Bran did the thing that controlling men always do at the exact moment they lose an argument. He reached out and closed his hand around her wrist. 200 people made a sound I have never heard before or since. Not a scream, a kind of low, collective, disbelieving groan. Emmett came up out of his chair. I moved, and I want you to know, I moved 1 step, and then I stopped because of what my sister did. She did not pull. Pulling is what he expects. Pulling is what she used to do. She rotated her wrist toward his thumb, dropped her elbow, and stepped in. And her arm came out of his grip like it was never in it. She had been going to a self-defense class above a laundromat every Tuesday for 14 months, brick by brick, was never a figure of speech. Bran stared at his own empty hand. That's new, she said. And that was the moment his ego stopped being able to hold the weight. He turned on Emmett, who was standing at the head table with both hands flat on the tablecloth. You, Bran said, come here. Come get her. Come on, teacher. Emmett said, no. No? No, Emmett said. You want a fight so that when I lose, she has to watch. I'm not going to give you that. That is the smartest sentence anybody said in that barn all night, and it came from a man who makes $51,000 a year. Bran's neck went dark red. He dropped the mic. It hit the parquet and boomed through the speakers like a shotgun and made the whole room jump. And he turned looking for someone, anyone, to make this go the way it goes in his head. He found me. I was already stepping in. Last time, I said, walk out. Or what, usher? Or you don't. You've got a mouth for a guy who's never Bran. I said it quietly, and he stopped. And this is the sentence I gave him. It was not clever. It was just true. You fight in a cage for money. He grades spelling tests for love. She chose right. Brannigan Duke threw the short right hand. It is a good punch. It has ended 9 professional fighters. It comes from the hip, it travels about 14 inches, and it arrives before most men finish blinking. Here is what happens when it meets somebody who has been trained for a different thing entirely. I did not block it. Blocking is expensive. I moved my head about the width of a hand and let it go past my ear, close enough that I felt the air and smelled the cologne on his sleeve. His arm was now extended, which meant his shoulder was forward, which meant his weight was forward, which meant his balance was somewhere out in front of his own toes. I caught the wrist as it passed and did not stop it. I rode it. You never fight a man's power. You let it finish going where it was already going, and then you add a little. I turned with him, brought his elbow up and across his own center line, stepped my lead foot outside his lead foot, and dropped my hips. There is no trick to it. It is levers and weight. His arm became a handle, and his own momentum became the engine, and the floor did the rest. A professional middleweight went face down on a parquet dance floor in under 1 second. Flat, chest, hips, cheek. The sound was one solid thump, and then a squeak as his dress shoe skidded. I put my knee across his shoulder blade, took the arm that had thrown the punch, and shelved it behind his back at an angle where any movement he made would tighten it, and any movement he did not make would not. He bucked once. Big, explosive, everything he had. I let his hips come up, and let them come back down and did not move, because my weight was on a point that did not care about his hips. He bucked twice, less. On the table 18 inches from his head, 4 champagne glasses stood absolutely still. Not one of them spilled. People took pictures of those glasses for a week. Breathe, I told him. You're not hurt. You're stuck. Those are different things. Get off. Breathe. He breathed. I felt his heart going through his back, about 180, maybe more. Mine was somewhere around 60. That is not a brag. It is a symptom. The barn was dead silent except for one thing. Somewhere on the left side of the room, a guest had pulled up Ozzie Fenn's live stream on her phone, and the volume was all the way up, and Ozzie's voice came out of that little speaker into 200 people's silence. Wait, 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 wait. Somebody in the comments is saying, hold on. Bro, that's her brother? That's a regiment, dude. I'm out. You could hear the car door open on the stream. You could hear gravel. You could hear Ozzie Fenn walking away from his own fighter, live in real time. Fran's face was turned sideways on the parquet. I watched his eyes when he heard it. That was the exact second the room he had built around himself came down. Not the takedown. The live stream. You came to take back what's yours, I said at toast volume, so the floor mic under the head table picked it up clean. Nothing here is. Not her, not the bag. Not the next 30 seconds. I looked up. Simone, do you want him arrested or do you want him gone? Both, she said, in that order. Roz? Rose had already called. She held up her phone. 9 minutes out. Okay. I looked down. Brannigan, I'm going to let you up. When I do, you're going to walk to the north wall and sit on that chair and put your hands on your knees. If you stand up before the deputies get here, I'll put you back down and it'll be on 200 phones instead of one. Man, tap the floor if you understand. Nothing. Tap the floor. He tapped the floor. Twice. I released him instantly, not a second after. The instant his hand hit wood, my weight was off him and my hands were open, and I had stepped back 2 paces. That is the part people online argue about, by the way. Half the comments say I should have held him longer. They are wrong, and I do not care to explain why to people who have never had to answer for anything. Bran got up slowly. His suit was ruined at the shoulder. His hair had come apart. He walked to the north wall and sat on the chair and put his hands on his knees. And he did not look at anyone. And 200 people watched a man who has knocked out 9 professionals sit in a folding chair at a wedding like a kid outside a principal's office. Then it came apart for him, item by item, and none of the items were my doing. Roz walked over with a manila envelope. "Sheriff's on the way," she said to Simone. "You'll want to hand them this yourself." Simone opened it. Inside was a printed stack, 26 messages, in order, each one time-stamped 4:41 Mem through 5:51 p.m., with the unknown number at the top of every page. Because I had spent that morning putting them in an album called Morning, and Rose had a printer in the bridal suite for place cards. Simone looked at the stack for a long moment, then at me. "This is why you did it. It's not an excuse." "No," she said, "it isn't." She squared the pages. "But it's evidence." She handed the whole stack to the venue's security lead, Hal, 62 years old, who read the first page and then the second and then said, "Ma'am, I've worked 22 years of events. This is the cleanest documentation I have ever been handed." By dessert, the comments had found Bran's contract. Iron Line Fights posts its fighter conduct policy publicly because they think it makes them look serious. Clause 6 is a morals clause. Somebody quoted it under Ozzy's stream at 8:47 p.m. Any conduct which brings the promotion into disrepute, including but not limited to acts of harassment, intimidation, or public disorder. 400 people liked that comment before the cake was cut. Iron Line's social media manager posted, "We are aware and reviewing," at 9:20 p.m., which is corporate for we already made the call. And at 9:30, the Vineyard's manager sent an email with a video attachment titled Parking Sanying 1926, MP4, and an invoice for $1,240. Addressed to Iron Line Fights. Care of accounts payable. 2 deputies took Bran out through the front doors, walking, not cuffed, hands visible, doing exactly what he was told. He stopped once and turned his head to find Simone in the crowd. She was standing with her husband's arm around her waist, and she did not look away. "He opened his mouth," she said. "Don't." He closed it. That is the last thing Brannigan Duke ever said to my sister. Nothing. And then there was my mother. She was sitting alone at table 11, while 200 people stood around the edges of the room, talking at once. Nobody had told anybody. Nobody knew. She was not being shunned. She was just alone, in navy blue, at a round table with 9 empty chairs next to the cake. I watched 3 separate relatives walk past her without stopping, because they were all rushing toward Simone. That is what it looks like when you bet on the wrong person. Nobody punishes you. Everyone simply walks in a different direction. She got up once and started toward Simone, and got about 4 steps and stopped, because at that moment the DJ's voice came over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, we got interrupted. We're going back. Bride and groom, front and center. We're finishing that song." Simone laughed out loud, a real one, the one from when she was 8, and grabbed Emmett by the tie. They went back onto the parquet, over the spot where a professional fighter had just been shelved, past a duffel bag someone had moved to the wall. The DJ picked the song up exactly where it had been cut off. Not the start, the middle, second half of the first dance. 200 people made a noise that shook dust off the rafters. They swayed. He stepped on her dress again. She called him a menace again. And every phone in that room that had been recording a man getting taken down turned around and recorded that instead. That is the actual headline. That is the video that went to 4 million views, not mine. Comments under it, thousands of them, and the top 141,000 likes. He tried to end her wedding, and instead she just finished her dance. That's absolutely brutal. My mother stood at the edge of the floor with her purse in front of her and watched her daughter dance, and she did not clap, and I do not think she could. I want to widen the lens for a second, because if you take only one thing from tonight, take this. Everybody watching this story is thinking about the man at the door. He is the exciting part. He is the part with the punch. He is not the important part. A man like Bran cannot find you by himself. He does not know which vineyard. He does not know that the ceremony is at 4. He does not have your new number, because you changed it twice. Every controlling man on earth runs on a supply line. The friend who says, "He's really doing better, you should hear him out." The cousin who tags the location. The parent who confuses a bank balance with safety. The coworker who thinks it's romantic. That supply line is never made of villains. That is why it works. It is made of people who love you and are frightened, and frightened people will hand a wolf a map and call it caring. We spend all our energy on the guy in the doorway. He is one loud night. The supply line is quiet, and it runs for years. You want to protect somebody? Do not learn to fight. Learn who is sending the mail. Here is how it all landed, concretely. Because I know you want it. The marriage license was signed at 10:05 p.m. on a table with cake crumbs on it, by a bride, a groom, and 2 witnesses, one of whom was a garage door installer named Petey, who spelled his own last name wrong the first time. Bran was cited that night and charged the following week. He took a plea. He got 2 years of probation and a 2-year protective order that lists Simone's home, Emmett's school, and my mother's church. Iron Line suspended him the next morning and terminated the contract 11 days later, and the truck dealership pulled his banner from their showroom before that. The supplement company just quietly deleted him. No statement. Deleting is the modern way of saying you were never important. Aussie Fenn's livestream ended up on every combat sports account in the country. He now has 200,000 followers and a sponsorship of his own, which is the funniest karma in this entire story. The only person who profited off that night is the guy who refused to get out of the car. The vineyard's invoice was paid by Iron Line and then deducted from Bran's final purse, which means Brannigan Duke personally paid $1,240 for a parking sign he kicked in front of 16 cameras while 100 people ate salad 40 feet away. My mother is in the doghouse, not a dramatic one, a long, slow, Sunday-shaped one. Simone calls her every Sunday at 4. They talk for 11 minutes. They talk about groceries and knees and a neighbor's dog. My mother has not been invited to a holiday since. She has not been uninvited either. She is simply not on the list yet, and the list is not mine, and I have learned to stop trying to fix lists that were never mine. She said one true thing to me. Months later, on a porch, I thought money was the same as safe. I said, "You know it isn't," she said. "I know it now. That is not forgiveness. That is just information. Sometimes that is all you get, and you have to decide whether to keep showing up anyway." Simone and Emmett bought a house in March. Small. Bad kitchen. A porch he is rebuilding badly with my instructions over video call, and me. At 10:20 that night, they handed me the mic that Brannigan Duke had dropped on the floor. Somebody had wiped it off with a napkin. Now, the glass. The story going around says I never put it down. That is the version that makes a better clip. I put it down. On a tray, 10 seconds before I stepped in front of my sister, and a server carried it away, and I never saw it again. That is the whole point. You cannot hold something and protect somebody at the same time. Everybody has to set something down first. Pride, usually. Sometimes a plan. Sometimes a perfect day you had already written in your head. The glass I raised at 10:20 was a different glass, and it was warm, and it was the first thing I had drunk all night. I said this, and I am not going to pretty it up, because I have watched a phone video of it 40 times, and I know exactly what I said. I had a speech. It was 3 pages. It had a joke about a bike and a scar. Laughing. Simone yelling the butterfly bandage from the head table. I'm not doing it, because I wrote that speech about my little sister, and I've spent all day running around this vineyard trying to protect a woman who did not need protecting. She got herself out. Nobody rescued her. She left with a mattress on a floor and bad credit, and she rebuilt herself brick by brick. And tonight, when a professional fighter put his hand on her wrist, she got it back before anybody moved. I didn't save my sister. I just stood where she told me to stand. So here's my toast. To Simone, who did the hardest thing anybody in this room has ever done, and did it without an audience. And to Emmett, who is not the safe choice. He's the right one. And those aren't the same, and only one of them is worth marrying. Emmett, you take care of her. She doesn't need you to. Do it anyway. 200 people stood up, and then I put the glass down again, and I went and helped the caterers stack chairs. Because they were short 2 guys, and my flight was at 6 in the morning. That is the part nobody films. Monday, I was back on a plane in a uniform nobody at that wedding's ever saw, and Emmett was back in a classroom explaining semicolons to 13-year-olds, and Simone was back at her desk. And the world went on being ordinary, which is the only thing any of us were fighting for in the first place. Strength that has to announce itself was never strength. It was just noise wearing a good suit. The loudest man in the room is almost never the most dangerous one. And the quiet one usually just wants to go home and stack chairs. And if somebody has to tell you they are protecting you, check who they are protecting you from. And check who told them where you were. Now here is the honest question, and I want both sides in the comments, because I still do not know the answer. I screened my sister's texts to protect her perfect day. Loving protection, or the same control wearing a nicer suit? Tell us below. If this story hit you, subscribe now. Share it with someone who respects quiet strength, and tell us in the comments which moment hit you the hardest. We will see you for the next story. It is already waiting.